alright, sunshine? How's it going, lad? Today I'm gonna react to some animated horror story right now. I'm gonna react to a Korean guy I was going out with was biting my face. Now that's a strange one, ain't it? Crikey! Haven't heard of that one before. Let's get straight into this reaction, yeah? Let's go.
Her major in university. She wanted to have some sort of romantic experience in Korea, and her friend recommended her to use a dating app to meet English-speaking Koreans. That way she could meet someone and experience the dating culture. About 3 weeks later, she met a guy named Tim on the app. He eagerly wanted to meet for a date, and he seemed nice, but she should have asked more questions, and he didn't give many details about himself. Tim was a guy a bit older than her, and claimed he was a college student. Jane assumed he had done his military time and returned to school. He wanted to come to her place originally to pick her up, but Jane lived in an all-women's dorm and didn't want him to know exactly where she lived since they were still strangers. So instead, she insisted they meet at the main town center near the subway. Tim really didn't like this idea, which looking back was a red flag, but she insisted. The night of the date, Jane waited an hour for this guy. Why was he so late, she thought. Tim weirdly claimed that he just wanted to make her wait. She thought he was kidding and messaged him a laughing emoji, assuming he was just lost. When he finally arrived, he was much smaller than she thought. But a man's height was never something she cared much about. He was also quite thin. Maybe Jane let her guard down because she didn't see him as physically threatening. Right off the bat, he was way too touchy and breathed creepily and heavily. Jane was so off-put with his demeanor and felt odd about the situation. Then, the first thing he said to her was, "You're not as white as I thought you were." Jane thought this was a translation error, but his English was near perfect, so she asked him for clarification, and he said, "I thought you would be more white. Are you pure European?" Now she was officially weirded out. Why does he care in the first place anyway? Why does her skin color matter to this guy? He kept talking about how he wished the color of her eyes were darker, but then she brushed it off as him being nervous and trying to start a conversation. When they arrived at the tea place, she tried to order a basic raspberry tea, but he stopped her and told Jane that she had to have this special one. He really insisted she only ordered that type of drink. She was weirded out by it, but went along. After, he asked if they could look around Jane's school. It was dark, but the school is well lit, so she agreed. And the whole time they walked around, he would randomly stop and grab her for long hugs. He kept grabbing and breathing hard into her neck. It was so awkward, and she stopped him. He also wouldn't tell any personal details about himself. He even said at one point, "I'm a mysterious man." And he also said something like, "You look so much like my favorite movie character." And Jane asked who, but he said she would have to figure it out on her own. Finally, he said, "I want to go to a dark area." He somehow knew there was a wooded area behind Jane's campus. Jane said no, and that she wanted to stay near the main campus in town, but he kept pushing. Finally, he grabbed her arm and said, "I can't let anyone see." Jane ripped her arm away and began to go back to the main road, and he followed. He was pleading with Jane to stay. She told him she would message him, lying obviously, saying anything to get him to leave. Suddenly, he leans towards Jane, and she thinks he's going to kiss her, but it was so much worse. Instead, she felt pain in her face. It took her a second to realize that he was biting her face. He leaned his head sideways and bit on Jane's nose and cheek as hard as he could. She screamed and pushed him away from her. His face looked so freaky and she barely had time to react in words. Instead, Jane ran up to the sidewalk until she saw a convenience store on the right. She ran to the back of the store and bent down, freaked out. The owner started to yell at her, but she couldn't explain the situation. She just begged him in English to let her stay. After waiting for some time, she realized that Tim didn't end up following her. Jane peered outside the store and didn't see him, and she immediately texted her friend to take her back to the dorm. On the way back, Jane messaged Tim again and basically told him to stay away from her and something along the lines of calling the police if he continued to stalk her. And then she blocked him. She was so thankful that she never let him pick her up at the dorm. Jane also called her mom and told her everything that happened, when suddenly she said, "Wait, what did he ask you?" She then put some details together and realized that all these weird things had to do with the 50 Shades of Grey books. The eye color, the way he dressed, and the tea he made her drink, and the random lines he said, it all matches his little fantasy. It was so creepy, but that was the last time that Jane ever saw Tim again. On a happier note, this bad experience didn't stop Jane. She eventually met someone else in Korea and they ended up falling in love. They even did the whole long distance thing and now she's living in Korea, studying and working. It's been years since this whole strange encounter, but if she ever runs into him again, Tim, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
Fucking hell, mate. Who would have thought there's cannibals in Korea? I had no idea. Jesus. Gotta watch out if you go in Korea on your next holiday trip. Freaking hell. And just so you know, I ain't watched 50 Shades of Grey, mate. I ain't watched it. So I have no idea what he was talking about. But now that I've watched this video, I feel like I should try and understand what he was trying to do and like trying just like read it up on Google search it or something like that about 50 Shades of Grey and all that shit. But he bit her cheek so hard that it actually started bleeding. Man, that was gross. Oh, I'm glad she has another guy now. And I'm glad she's fallen in love with him. Good on you, mate. Good on ya. Anyways, if you enjoyed, here's some more animated horrors. And I will check out more of this guy's content. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and peace. Jesus.